What I have here is a Czech VZ-44 flare gun, which I ordered from numeric.com. I'll include a link in the description of the video. So basically this is just a really stout, as you can tell by me slamming it on the table there, all metal flare gun. So you can obviously shoot flares out of it in 26.5 millimeter. And what I've done with it is I went to Home Depot and I got some 3/4 inch pipe, just like this here. I had to grind it down a little bit because it's a little bit too thick to go in there. But so it slides right into the barrel, and mine just, the way that I did it, it just slides in, twists, and it sits in there just like that. So now that I have that in there, I can shoot a 12 gauge flare out of it. Now, unlike the adapters that you can find on the internet that'll adapt this 26.5 millimeter flare gun to a 12 gauge flare, this will actually chamber a 12 gauge shell. And that is an unadulterated 12 gauge shell. I've gotten off the top, but it's just a homemade slug, which will come in another video. So, unadulterated 12 gauge round. And then, what I took and did from there, I go to gunadapters.com, short lane gun adapters. And another tip, use the code Pathfinder if you go to their website to purchase these guys. And they make these in all different calibers, and what they do is they change your 12 gauge into a 20 gauge. Is this one. That one's a 45/410 long Colt, a 410 Colt, and this one's a 22 long rifle. That one's a rimfire, so it's a little bit off center there. And then they also make them in 9mm, a 38, and I want to say they also do it in a 50 caliber, the Desert Eagle 50 caliber. Pretty much all pistol rounds you can get these adapters in, and a couple shotgun rounds as well if you get them for the 12 gauge rather than for the 20 gauge. But so these will slide right in there, so you can shoot effectively about any caliber that you can think of out of this gun. I wouldn't recommend shooting 12 gauge shells out of it. You'd probably break your wrist. Not only that, I wouldn't get busted with this gun in this condition. This is considered a destructive device by the ATF. Anything under 18.5 inches in barrel length that shoots anything over a 1/2 inch or 50 caliber is considered a destructive device by the ATF. It has to be at least 26 inches in overall length. So this is illegal. It's a Class 2 firearm the way that it sits. So you could not, well, you can purchase it, but I wouldn't get caught with it. So let's just go from there. So don't get caught with this. They do make adapters that go straight from the 26.5 down to the 45 Colt and to the 22. They don't make them to shoot any other caliber, and then you also have to get the 12 gauge insert to shoot flares out of it. If we are in a survival situation or shit hits the fan type situation, legality is not my main concern. I can shoot anything I want out of this rig the way that it sits. And if I want to go to the range, I'll go get the 45 insert from the 26.5, so that it's perfectly legal. And they actually do, if you go to Kennesaw Cannon, I think is the website that you get those from. If you get one from them, it gives you a letter from the ATF of legality of the weapon when you have the insert in it. It is considered a Class 1 firearm when you have the insert in it, or anywhere readily available. So you can't just walk around with this in your backpack and play it off, like it's not a concealed weapon, because, it's a flare gun and then you have the insert in another pocket. It's not how it works. ATF pretty much covers that. So do not get busted with this. That's 10 years in jail, $10,000 fine, or both. And also you break your wrist if you try to shoot a 12 gauge out of it. You might try shooting a 20 gauge. In a survival situation, you do what you got to do. If I got a bear chasing me, I'm shooting whatever I have. As far as the gun holding up in that situation, people make zip guns, pipe zip guns, out of this pipe all the time. Not to mention that it has a pretty stout flare gun around it. And I don't think that's going to come apart at all. Thing's about 6 pounds. So definitely a pretty good all-around survival weapon. You can signal with it. You can shoot anything that's chasing after you with it. You can take game with it. You could take a bird out of the sky with this weapon, shooting a 410, maybe a 20 gauge with some light steel shot, something like that. As I said, I would not recommend shooting the 12 gauge out of it. I'll include links in the description to gunadapters.com, which is where you get these 12 gauge inserts, and then to numeric.com, which is where you get the flare gun itself. You can go to Home Depot and find the pipe.